Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Bring the camera over to me. I know I'm live. You guys are like, what's going on with Strategic? Why is he not his usual cherry self? Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? Why is he not doing that? There's nothing to be cherry about, guys. See, because there's a lot going on in the world today, guys. And I'm starting not to trust the government. More and more and more, I'm putting on the tinfoil hat. See, the government is out there telling us that this was an attack that was only done by one person. Thank you, baby. Daughter's like, why does this guy have a tinfoil hat on his head? She'll understand when she gets older. They're telling us that this attack was done by one person, but I got to be honest with you, I don't believe them. And I'm going to lay out to you guys today why I don't believe them. And anybody who knows anything about this show, you know I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just ask questions. One thing that I am, or I try to be, I try to live my life with a principle of being empathetic to other people, caring about people, loving people, feeling sorry for people, praying for people, wishing for the best from humanity. So when I read in the news that 15 innocent people are dead, I just went on my Twitter. And I saw a man post the most beautiful little girl. Just graduated from high school. Class of 2024. And he said, this is why when parents tell kids don't go somewhere, you kids need to listen and not go somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter is dead. That's what that man posted on Twitter. With a beautiful picture of his dead daughter, who's one of the 15 people who were run over by a terrorist. And you guys think that I want to put a tinfoil hat on and come on YouTube and make a mockery of those people? No, I'm not here to make a mockery. I'm here because I'm tired of being lied to. And I don't trust the government, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a game. It's not a joke. There's no punchline. I don't trust the government. Wasn't always like that. Didn't always feel that way. Something changed when I turned 40, guys. Something crazy changed, man. Wow. I can't even quantify it. I can't even explain it. I'm lying to you. I can explain it. I got older. I got wiser. I took the wool off of my eyes. I don't trust the government because they lie. Because at first, they told us, oh, it's not terrorism. Then the mayor came on and the mayor said, oh, this is terrorism. Then a few hours later, they said, yeah, this is terrorism. Then they told us, oh, we got on camera 2 people placing IEDs that we were able to render inoperative. So you saw them. You tracked down those IEDs and you made them inoperable. Now, a day later, they said, oh, the guy's operating by himself. Oh, he's all by himself. We're going to watch the press conference. They said he operated by himself. He's a lone wolf. Still terrorism, though, but it's a lone wolf. You don't got to worry about anything. We're going to have a sugar bowl. We got dead bodies in the street of Bourbon Street, and now we got to have our sugar bowl, right? Because the people need their bread and circuses, right? The people need their bread in circuses. So Bourbon Street is a graveyard. Bourbon Street is a memorial filled with pain, but we still got to have our Sugar Bowl. And then they say, oh, the propaganda came out. If you went on Twitter, you see all the news people on their personal pages, not the official pages, but on their personal pages. Oh, oh, Elon Musk palling around with Donald Trump. Look, his truck blew up. It's probably because of his faulty batteries. Then a few moments later, oh, it looks like it was intentionally blown up. But it's not terrorism. We got to figure out what's going on here. And then the Tesla Cybertruck was rented from the same rental app that nobody has heard of, Toro. None of us has heard of Toro. Why not Enterprise? Why not Hertz? Why not all these other rental places that we know about? No, Toro, the truck that mowed down the people in Louisiana was rented on Toro. The Cybertruck that was turned into a bomb outside of the Trump Las Vegas towers was rented on Toro, and the man who blew himself up in that Cybertruck is an Army veteran. But, as they're going to tell us in this press conference, there's no connection between the Army veteran who turned a Cybertruck that was rented off of Turo into a bomb is not related to the Army veteran who drove his vehicle that he rented off of Turo into a crowd of people, killing 15, then getting out his car and placing fire against police officers, seriously injuring 2 officers and sending them to the hospital before he was taken out by responding officers. They're not related. They're not related. Are you dumb? Or maybe you just don't have the hat. Maybe you need the hat. That's what you need the hat. That's why. You believe that? You folks believe that these things are not related, that happen 24 hours from each other with 2 people who serve the government in the military using the same rental app? They're not in communication. They are not in cahoots. You believe that? You need the hat. I don't believe them. I don't believe the government. We're going to talk about why. Let's listen to what the government got to tell us first. You got to know. You got to know who you're talking about before you could talk about them, right? We've lost our way, people. We got to find our way back. I don't know. Let's figure it out together.
You will see the flags of all state buildings at half-mast in honor of those lives that were lost in this horrific act of violence. I also think that it's important to remember that what happened yesterday was a
heard the phone ring and I thought it was my phone. I was like, uh-oh. Let's keep going.
To those who are old enough to remember jigsaw puzzles, and that you would take a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle and you empty the box and you've got to start sifting through those pieces, and you want to start, if you're real good, you start at the corners.
Yeah.
Right?
Speak to us like we're little freaking babies. We're grown adults. Yeah, I love it when these politicians come up on a podium and they tell us these stories and these analogies and speak to us like that. We're little babies, sermonizing to us. We don't want your sermon, sir. We want facts. We want facts so we can feel comfortable that our children and even ourselves can walk down these streets and not be murdered and slaughtered by your psyops. That's what we want. We don't want your sermons. Just get to the point. Let's keep going.
Together. And from yesterday to today, over 1,000 law enforcement agents and officers, men and women, have been poring over countless amounts of data, of videos, of surveillances, interviews, tracking down every possible lead that came to us, whether it was the New Orleans Police Department, the Louisiana State Police, the FBI, or our other federal agencies. Also yesterday, I issued an emergency declaration. That declaration was meant to streamline resources and communications.
We're going to fast forward this guy. I want to get to the FBI. Do guys, please hit that like button. We're going on a journey together today, people. Hit that like button. Go on this journey with me. Support the channel. We're going to listen to this. Let's get this guy out the way. This governor dude, he's not saying nothing. It's a dirty politician. Let's keep going. It doesn't matter what his political party is. I don't care. I don't even see parties anymore. All I see is dirty politicians. Let's keep going.
Thank you, Governor Landry.
Yeah, Governor Landry, whoever you are. I don't even know who he is. I just don't like him already. Keep going.
Good morning. I am FBI Deputy.
Oh, we got to update Nightbot. Nightbot's still on the marathon. I'll do that while we listen to this. Let's listen to the FBI tell us what's going on. Come on, FBI. You going to give us the truth today? Let's see what's going on.
Director Christopher Rea. I'm from our Counterterrorism Division at headquarters. I'm also joined by Assistant Special Agent in Charge Alethea Duncan from our New Orleans office, who you heard from yesterday. I'm here to discuss not only the latest investigative information we have here in New Orleans, but I'll also let you know about other investigative activities outside of the state. I first, and most importantly, want to send our deepest condolences to the victims of this horrific attack and their loved ones. 14 innocent victims were killed in this senseless attack, and at least 35 are injured. We cannot ease the grief people in this community and across the nation are feeling at this time, but rest assured, we stand with you and in support of you. All the resources, and I'm going to go into that a little bit.
This guy need to fix his tie. What's wrong with this guy? You're in front of the national media. Look at this guy's tie. Come on, let's keep going.
A little bit later. All the resources of the FBI are being focused on tracking down every piece of evidence, every lead, every interview, every potential lead we've got. While I won't be able to answer all your questions today, my goal is to be as forthcoming as possible with you on what we've uncovered so far.
I don't believe him.
First and foremost, let me be very clear about this point.
Yes.
This was an act of terrorism.
Okay.
It was premeditated and an evil act.
Who ordered him to do it? I'm wondering.
This was obviously a critical incident, and with that, lots of information and tips come pouring in from law enforcement, first responders, and the public. We have been aggressively running down these tips. And
why you gotta? If you're speaking from the heart, right? You've been briefed on this 1,000 times. Why do you need to read from a script? I mean, he's not telling us anything profound. He's not telling us anything technical. Why do you need to read from a script? If you've been briefed on this, you know what parameters, what you have to say, what you can't say. I do this show. I never read from a script. You never see me like this. This is an unscripted show. I speak every single topic that I talk about. I speak from the heart. No script. No practice. Why is it little old me could do this and this big old bald-headed FBI super guy, he can't tell us the very basic information that he's going to share without reading from a script? This is very interesting for me. Amazing. And you know what? I've been in many briefings before. I've shown you videos that I've been in a briefing. Never before have I ever seen an executive read from a script when they're just reporting regular stuff that they know, which is crime, murder, rape, the whole nine. Never seen them read from a script. Why is this guy reading from a script? Unless, of course, he's got to stay on script. But let's keep going.
As you all know, that takes time, and we will continue to do so until every lead has been followed through on. This investigation is only a little more than 24 hours old. So I ask you to keep in mind that as I go through some of the specifics later. But at this point, currently, and this is another fact I want to be clear on, we do not assess.
All right, they're about to give us what we want, because I got a few things I got to show you guys. We just making the cake right now, but I got to put the ice in. I got to put the decorations on. So be patient with me. Let's listen to this. Let them make the cake so we can then decorate and dress that cake up. Before we do that, though, big shout out to Jamie Pease with a 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much, Jamie, for supporting the channel. We baking the cake right now, guys. Be patient. Let's keep going.
This point that anyone else involved in this attack is involved in this attack except for Shamsuddin Jabbar, the subject you've already been briefed on.
So in 24 hours, they go from telling us that this was at least 4 people, 2 men, 1 woman, and the man that we know, Mr. Jabbar, were involved in this attack. Now they're telling us he's the only one involved in the attack, even though in Las Vegas, we have a very similar attack to his with a person who also served in the military, and there's no connection so far. Big shout out to CR with a $3 super sticker. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. Bake that cake. Come on.
A little bit about what the FBI is doing. So we are surging people and assets to the area from across the region and across the nation. Special agents in multiple field offices across the country have been deployed and are assisting with potential aspects of this investigation and following up on every lead. Additional teams of special agents, professional staff, and victim specialists continue to arrive to provide more investigative power and assistance to the victims and their families. We've also forward deployed a number of our critical incident response group assets, including members of our hostage rescue team, special agent bomb technicians, and crisis management coordinators. In addition, we have deployed more evidence response technicians to continue to process.
All right, so of course they're going to fluff themselves. These are all the things that we're doing, but the crutch of it is, right? The crutch of it is that Jabbar was the only one who did it. Jabbar. That's it. Nobody else. They figured that out, right? I want to bring you guys back a little bit. I don't want to trigger anybody because we're not here talking about ideology. We're not here talking about ideology. What we're talking about here is we're asking questions. Why? Right? You guys remember on January 6th? January 6th pretty much divided this country, right? You had some people who felt that the people who went into the Capitol were insurrectionists and traitors and should spend the rest of their life in prison. You have some people who believe that they were patriots and they went in there to voice their distrust. You have some people who are in the middle, kind of like, hey, what they did was wrong. They should be punished for it, but it's not as bad as thinking that they're traitors. Whatever. There's so many different ways of looking at this. But I don't care about all of that. It's important stuff, but for my purposes here, I don't care about all of that. What I care about is something nobody talked about. Nobody ever talks about on January 6th. You don't really hear them talking about it on the left. You don't really hear them talking about it on the right. You don't hear anybody talking about the fact that when a bunch of rowdy people did what they did on the Capitol, however you may feel about it, doesn't matter because there were people who were walking around D.C. dropping off bombs to various places. And the government was able to identify thousands of people who entered that Capitol. People with hats on, shades on, face masks off because they were social distancing. They're like, yo, we about to go to a riot. We got to social distance and put our masks on to hide from that COVID. People who had face painting on, people who had costumes on, who were cosplaying as Indians and pirates and all kinds of stuff, they were able to identify all of those people. But they were never able to identify the would-be bombers like this guy.
Breaking right now, the FBI just released this brand new video of the person they say put pipe bombs outside the RNC and DNC headquarters. They say the suspect put those bombs there the night before the deadly January 6th insurrection.
This dude is stretching. He's over here doing calisthenics while he's dropping off bombs.
Person is seen on a bench in front of the DNC. That's where officers found the first bomb. The FBI is asking anyone with information to please come forward.
How is it they never found this guy? This guy was truly, regardless of what you believe about what happened in the Capitol, I'm not here to have a political debate with you. I'm not interested in that. I'm telling you my opinion. This guy was truly the biggest threat to democracy that occurred that day. The guy who put bombs outside of the headquarters for two of the biggest parties in America, the duopoly of power in this great nation. He put bombs there, yet they never found out who he was, even though D.C. is one of the most densely surveilled cities in the world, the capital of the United States of America. You were supposed to have every agent in Washington, D.C. following up on this. If there's a block that there wasn't no functioning camera, you could have picked them up on the next block. You could have went backwards and try and trace where he came from. If we do it in my job, why couldn't they do it in their job? They never found who this guy was, but they want us to believe, that they got the answers on this terrorist attack. Let me ask you another question, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it they don't know who this, what this is? Do I have to tell you what you're looking at? Do you not know what you're looking at? It's the time-lapse footage of the New Jersey skyline, of the drones who are alarming and harassing the people of New Jersey, having flights canceled because they were flying over restricted infrastructure like area airports, scaring people, causing mass hysteria. And what did the government tell us? Well, we don't know what it is, but it's not a threat. Can't tell you what they are, but don't shoot them down. Don't bother them. Don't flash lasers at them.
Tonight, an aerial mystery that's been described as unnerving is growing.
It's not a big deal. We don't know what they are, but just leave them alone.
FBI now investigating multiple reports of unidentified drones flying over New Jersey, some as large as a small car. And today, a large drone seen here, also described as the size of a small vehicle, flying over a California event where Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was in attendance.
More drones in the sky, Rockaway, New Jersey.
The New Jersey drones, initially spotted in the northern part of the state, now being reported further south. Sightings also now being reported.
Hovering around. In this day and age, I just don't think that that's something you take lightly. If it is nothing to be concerned about, someone should come forward and say that.
Residents.
I don't trust the government. I don't trust the government. Let's play what's the new advances in the investigation on the Las Vegas attack. The one that they told us was no big deal. They told us it was a faulty battery from the Tesla. When it turns out, and I'm no Elon Musk fanboy, but it turns out that because this terrorist chose to use a Cybertruck, maybe because he wanted to make a political statement, he chose the wrong vehicle. The Cybertruck is literally built like a tank. Since he used a Cybertruck, the explosion was contained. The windows of Trump Towers didn't even get blown out, even though the explosion, which was a very large explosion, happened mere feet away from the front doors. Those front doors are unscathed. They require no repair because and simply and only because the Cybertruck was used as the bomb. Because of its rigid and high tensile steel construction, the explosion went up instead of out. It went up instead of out, saving lives. Saving lives. Let's see what the news. Now, I have not seen this, so we're reacting to this for the first time. Let's see if it's probative.
Connected to the rental of the Cybertruck that exploded outside of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas is a U.S. Special Forces soldier. Surveillance video shows the moment a Tesla Cybertruck exploded. Police say the driver detonated a combination of fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fuel. The FBI now working to figure out whether this was indeed an act of terrorism. The driver was killed and at least 7 people were injured. And CNN's Natasha Chen joins us now from Las Vegas. Natasha, some very interesting information coming in from our Haley Britsky over at the Pentagon about the man connected to the rental of this Cybertruck. What more are you learning?
I'm getting complaints that the sound is not good. Let me know if the sound is good, people. Let me know if the sound is good. Sometimes it's just one person. Somebody said bad audio. Okay. Let's see here. Like on my end, it sounds good. Let me see if let's go ahead and take a look now. Let's give it a try. Let me know if the audio is bad. Somebody says mine is fine. Someone says sounds good. Someone says nope. My sounds good over here. My audio is fine. Good here. It was just stuttering like internet stuff does. Mine is okay. I just popped in. Must be me and choppy audio. So obviously, some people are getting good audio. Some people are not. It's not something that I can do. It might be on YouTube's end, since some of you guys are getting good audio, some of you guys are not. So it's not anything that I can control. Anyway, let's keep going. I did something. I'm going to play it now. If it sounds worse, then let me know and I'll undo what I just did. But I don't think it's something on my end.
Right, Jim. Well, Haley has confirmed in just the last few minutes that he is an active duty U.S. Special Forces soldier assigned to 10th Special Forces Group, according to 4 U.S. officials, that he holds the rank of Master Sergeant, a senior enlisted rank, these officials said. 3 officials said he was on active.
You know who else was a Master Sergeant? You know who else was a Master Sergeant? Jabbar. Jabbar was also a Master Sergeant. Let's keep going.
Duty serving in Germany, and he was on leave when this happened on New Year's Day. He has not been identified publicly, and authorities are still trying to work out whether this was a terrorist attack. Now, just to recap a little bit of what happened behind us just 24 hours ago, approximately, there are still police presence here around.
So somebody in the chat said that if you close out YouTube and you reopen it and come back into the live, your audio issues will be fine. So like I said, I'm streaming excellently over here. My metrics are good. So I can't do anything to adjust the audio or fix it on my end. Close out YouTube, come back in. Make sure you come back in, and I think you should be fine. Let's keep going.
Around the valet area of where you pull into the Trump International Hotel just off of the Vegas Strip. This Cybertruck that he allegedly rented was rented from Colorado from the Turo rental platform. Authorities say that he drove it here to Las Vegas by 7:30 a.m. on New Year's Day, that he drove up and down the Strip, and then about an hour before the explosion drove past the Trump Hotel as well. And police did make note that the damage was really limited because of the body construction of this Tesla Cybertruck, saying that, you know, the front glass of the Trump Hotel behind us did not even suffer any damage. The driver inside did die from this explosion. There were 7 other people injured, Jim.
All right, somebody said that Jabbar wasn't a Master Sergeant. He was a Staff Sergeant. I'm not a military person. I'm sorry. He's still a sergeant, though. He was still a sergeant. Let's keep going.
All right, Natasha Chen, get back to us if you hear anything else. We really appreciate it. For more on this, CNN's Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller joins us now. John, let's start with this new information coming in from our Haley Britsky over at the Pentagon. How shocking is this, that this was an active duty soldier? To me, I mean, the fact that this was a U.S. Special Forces soldier assigned to the 10th Special Forces Group, I mean, that tells us that this individual had some expertise if he is indeed the person who was in.
So we have a sergeant who was in IT and administration. He was an IT professional in the military, more than 10 years of service. He says on multiple websites that he loved his Army service, and it was very fulfilling for him and taught him a lot about responsibility, etc. And he has no qualms, no issue with his service. So there's no history of being disgruntled with the military. Like if we had a history of this guy being disgruntled, we had dishonorable discharge, we have, demerits and demotions and negative connotations on his record, him separating from the military for political beliefs or religious beliefs or whatever it may be, that's one thing. That didn't happen with Jabbar. That didn't happen with Jabbar. We had a person who served with honor and distinction as far as we know. Even though he's a terrorist, even though he's a monster, I don't take away the past. I don't take away your actions. You may have done something terrible. You need to pay for it. You need to be remembered for what you did, but I'm not going to pretend like everything you ever did in your life was a mistake. He's a father. His children aren't a mistake. His children deserve to move on with their life and do beautiful things and never be hampered by their father's legacy. So he's done good things in his life. He served our country with distinction. And then he just decides to become a terrorist? And then we got a special operator, a guy who has a top secret clearance, a guy who's taught by us to be a killer, a guy who we trust more than anything in the world, a guy who we revere in our military, a guy who gets special accommodations, special barracks, a guy who other soldiers look up to like he's a warrior, like he's the epitome of what it is to be a soldier. And not only that, he is a leader amongst those men, the top echelon of men, the apex of alpha males. He is a leader amongst those men. He is respected amongst those men. And he's a terrorist too? Make it make sense. And then 48 hours after a massacre occurred on Bourbon Street, they're having their Sugar Bowl. Bread and circuses for the plebs. They think we're done, people. They think we are dumb. They overstimulate us, and then they give us their lies, their manufactured truths, and then it's back to bread and circuses. If you don't know what that means, go and look it up. Bread and circuses. Let's keep going.
Inside the Cybertruck, in addition to renting it.
Well, this is information we first reported last night, that he was a U.S. Special Forces operator. The fact that he's active duty on leave from Germany is just something that sets him apart in so many ways from the terrorist profile we've become accustomed to in these attacks, and raises real questions as to what was this event in Las Vegas. Was it an attack on the building? Was it a calculated suicide? But his training for a 36-year-old, 19-year veteran, active duty U.S. military.
36 years old, 19 years. He would be eligible, and I'm going to read something out in the comment section in a second. He would be able to have full retirement benefits at 37 years old. He could be a retired man walking around the streets with no job, pulling in a salary, a decent salary, because he's a special operator, so he's making more money than regular soldiers. I mean, we don't pay our special operators a gajillion dollars, but they get lots of perks, lots of add-ons, and they get a decent salary for what they do. So if he's single with no kids, he could literally live off of that for the rest of his life if he wanted to. Or he could leave the country and go to a third world, Thailand, Vietnam, these places that people go, they call expats, where they go live like kings on their retirement salaries. They got pedestrian retirements, but they go live in these countries and they're living like kings. He could go do that too. He was so close to the finish line, but yet he decided to become a terrorist. But I want to read something out in the comment section. I have not verified this. Just like the government is telling us stuff they have not apparently verified, because we get a new story every single day. But I want to put this out there, and we'll figure it out together eventually. TNT Cycles PDX been with the show for a very long time. It's been with me for a very long time. Supported the channel for a very long time. He said, I didn't verify it. He said they both worked at the same base, rented cars from the same app. We know that's true. We know that's true. And the Tesla guy is also from the same place as the second Trump assassin. Too many coincidences. If at least 2 out of 3 of these things are true, we got a problem. We already know 1 out of 3 is true. If at least 2 out of 3 is true, we have got a problem. I don't trust the government. Let's keep going.
Military Green Beret, special operations training, risk management and vulnerability certification, intelligence operations. This really sets him apart in terms of a higher level of training and capability than anyone we would have seen in a similar attack. So again, Jimmy, goes back to the question of what was this? The idea of getting the Elon Musk signature car and bringing it to the gold Trump sign in Las Vegas, driving from Colorado Springs. It really suggests he's trying to send a message with visualization, but he allegedly, if he is the same person whose body was found in that car, they still haven't been able to identify that body, but they know who rented the car. If he is the individual inside, apparently...
This one I don't understand, right? This one I don't get. This doesn't make sense, guys. I want to go back. This doesn't make sense at all. I'm pausing because I'm dumbfounded. This doesn't make sense. This guy who perished in this Tesla Cybertruck, this guy who is a special operator in the military, he literally blew himself up with a few 5-gallon gas tanks and fireworks. Does this make sense to you guys? Like, this guy knows what it takes to make an explosion. This is like what a 5-year-old would think about if you say, hey, we want to blow up a car. A 5-year-old will be like, well, maybe we'll put some gas in it. It's not even like the car has gas natively in it because it's a combustion engine car. No, it has batteries. Now, we know that lithium-ion batteries are combustible, but they make these cars very rigid in order to lessen that threat of the lithium-ion batteries causing an explosion. So he blew himself up with gas tanks and fireworks. This is not dynamite here, guys. These are firecrackers. You would think that a special operator who is trained in warfare would get his hands on some C4, get his hands on some mortars, get his hands on some grenades. Okay, get his hands on some dynamite. There's no dynamite in this car, guys. There's no C4 in this car. There's firecrackers and gas canisters. Doesn't it seem a little bit amateurish to you? Doesn't it seem a little bit outlandish? This doesn't make any sense that you would say, I'm going to go end myself with gas tanks and firecrackers. The first attack made sense. He's using the vehicle as a mass-ending device. If you're going into a densely populated area, especially where people are out in the streets celebrating, walking in sidewalks, you could do a lot of damage. Hence, 15 people are now no longer with us. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. But this doesn't make sense. He was better off just going in front of Trump Towers, pouring the gasoline on top of him and smoking a cigarette. He'd have had the same impact. This doesn't make sense. Does it make sense to you guys? Big shout out to Mitch P. Marshall, who's now a White Shield member. Welcome as a White Shield member of Strategic Eyes Show. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I think we got A-Lady in the building. I saw somebody say, wow, A-Lady. A-Lady's in the building. She says he may have been trapped inside and didn't mean to. I get it, A-Lady. That makes sense. Maybe, A-Lady. But I'm talking about the devices. I'm talking about the means. He used firecrackers. He didn't use real explosives. And not only that, he's a special operator. They're trained in explosives. They're trained in making explosives from scratch. He could have made a more powerful explosion by typing in how to make an explosion on Google and going to Home Depot and buying the ingredients that they tell you with the first search result that you get. You can go to Barnes and Nobles and get the cookbook for bombs. Amazon. He would have made a much more bigger bomb if he wanted to, and he was trained to want to. To know how to. This is his life. His whole life is to be a warrior. His whole life is to be a guerrilla fighter, to know how to be dropped off into enemy territory and make weapons from scratch. That's what they teach these people. Why did he choose to use firecrackers and gas cans? He got exactly what you would get if you used firecrackers and gas cans to make an explosive. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, but he's also trained and smart enough to understand that he made this makeshift firecracker and basically put it in an iron cage. He basically put it in a lead box. His trainer should have told him the Cybertruck would not be the proper vehicle to do this. Now, if he wanted to make a statement about Elon Musk, he could have got a Tesla Model Y. He could have got a Model T. He could have got a Model Q, X, Y, and P for all we know. Anything but the Cybertruck. He chose the vehicle that's made out of hardened steel, where Elon Musk literally shoots the car and says this car is bulletproof. Where people make YouTube videos out of taking bats, crowbars, and axes and whacking away at the car and wiping it off with a handkerchief, and it's still shiny. That's the vehicle he chose to make a bomb out of. A vehicle that's built like a tank. And guess who rode in a tank before? He rode in a tank before. He's a special operator. What happens if you put a grenade in a tank? You see smoke come out the vents. That's what happens. The tank is still standing. He chose to build a bomb inside of a tank. Does that make sense? Does that sound like something a special operator would do? With 19 years on the job, who's 1 year away from retiring with full benefits and full honors? And now he's a terrorist who blew himself up with firecrackers? Come on, man, it doesn't make sense.
Body, but they know who rented the car. If he is the individual inside, apparently he chose to press that detonator and then remain inside as this conflagration went out.
Right. I mean, there's the symbolism that you just referenced, John, in driving a Tesla Cybertruck up to the Trump Hotel in Vegas and blowing it up. There's also this connection, this potential, I suppose, military connection between this individual in Las Vegas and what took place in New Orleans. And I mean, I know we don't have any established connections or that we know about publicly at this point from official sources. But what do you make of that potential connection? I mean, that sounds like too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence.
As a former senior member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, both in New York and Los Angeles, the idea that you've got two people with military backgrounds, one former, one active, that they go...
Dude, the tires didn't even melt. The tires didn't even melt. The glass is still inside the windshield. I mean, the side view mirrors. Wow. It's a strong truck.
to the same off-brand rental car company, the Toro company, to rent these exotic vehicles, that they both do attacks in tourist locations on a holiday, is the kind of coincidence that you can't say has meaning, but you can't ignore it. So you go into the investigation saying, well, let's disprove it. Let's investigate our way through it and find out if we can validate it or put it aside. But you certainly can't ignore it. Too many factors there.
I wonder, does this guy got like a manifesto or something? Does he have a last will and testament? Like, what is his social media footprint? Like, what's going on here, people? Talk to me. What is happening here? And A Lady says advertising for the Cybertruck. You right about that. Truck is tough. Truck is tough. I don't even think the lithium-ion batteries blew up. I think the lithium-ion batteries, of course, they're not reusable, but they're still intact. The only thing that blew up was the back of the truck. And that was it. Wow.
The FBI is working to determine whether the Tesla Cybertruck explosion earlier today is possibly connected to the New Orleans attack. Here's the moment. Police say fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fuel were detonated in the bed of this vehicle. The FBI also trying to figure out whether it was an act of terrorism. Local police spoke to the glaring possibility of a connection between Trump Tower and the car produced by Elon Musk's company.
Well, I mean, it's a Tesla truck, and we know that Elon Musk is working with President-elect Trump, and it's the Trump Tower, so there's obviously...
Yo, all these people look sick. They look sick, though. Healthiest person here, look, is this old lady right here. She look healthy. Look at this guy's face. He's flushed. Maybe they're tired. They're working these crazy shifts. Look at this guy back here. He's like a zombie. I'm watching this show on Prime called From. It's very scary. Scary show. This guy look like one of the monsters from. These guys are stressed out. Let's keep going.
Things to be concerned about there, and that's something we continue to look at. The fact that this was a cyber truck really limited the damage that occurred inside of the valet, because it had most of the blast go up through the truck and out. In fact, if you look on that video, you'll see that the front glass doors at the Trump hotel were not even broken by that blast.
Look how close it was to the hotel. It's crazy.
CNN's Veronica Miracle has more details on the investigation for you.
Our John Miller is telling us he has spoken to multiple law enforcement officials who say that the driver of the cyber truck has a military background. Now, law enforcement officials say they know the name of this driver who died in the explosion, but they are not going to be releasing the identity of that driver until they notify the next of kin. We understand that this driver was in Las Vegas for about an hour driving around the Strip before pulling up to Trump Tower before that explosion happened. And authorities say the driver rented the Cybertruck in Colorado via the Turo app before driving down to Las Vegas. Video released by law enforcement shows explosives that were contained inside the truck, which included fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fuel, and all of that was connected to a detonation system that was controlled by the driver. And the sheriff pointed out, which is really incredible, how the Cybertruck actually contained the explosion. The way that it was built forced the explosion to go upwards instead of outwards, which meant that...
So this guy was so sophisticated, he was able to actually concoct a detonation device, probably taught to him by the U.S. military, because he's a special operator. But he didn't know that putting these devices in a tank would have the opposite effect of what he was looking for. And he could not find better materials than off-the-shelf fireworks, gas tanks, and camping fire. That's all he's got for us. I don't believe it. We're going to do a call-in show. I need to hear from you folks. I need to hear what you think. I'm sorry. I can't do this by myself. I got to hear from you folks. We're going to do the call-in show. I'm getting the numbers set up. Let's keep going.
From Trump Tower was not broken, and 7 people nearby were injured, but with minor injuries. All of them are okay. They've all been released from the hospital. The driver did die, and Las Vegas police believe that this was an isolated incident. They are not yet willing to say if this was, in fact, connected to what happened in New Orleans, but it is quite unusual that both the drivers in these incidents rented their cars from Turo. We do have a statement from Turo, and they said they're cooperating with these investigations, but they also said that neither of the drivers had criminal backgrounds, which would have flagged them as security threats.
This is crazy. Guys, we got a call-in show. Feel free to call in for the call-in show. We got the numbers posted inside of the chat. Let me go ahead. I'm just setting some things up right now. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you think about this. We have 2 terrorist attacks. I don't care what the government wants to call them. I mean, I believe that they're starting to acknowledge that they're terrorist attacks. We got 2 terrorist attacks, one in Louisiana, 15 people now gone, scores of people injured. More people may follow. Let's pray to God that that's not the case. We have another terrorist attack, clearly a terrorist attack, in Las Vegas. The terrorists chose President-elect Trump's hotel, and they chose to use a vehicle that's manufactured by the richest man in the world, who happens to be good friends with the president-elect. Both terrorists are U.S. military members with more than 10 years of service. The Las Vegas terrorists, 19 years of service. The New Orleans terrorists, I believe 10 or more years of service. Both have combat experience. Both have been deployed in theaters of war. Let's see what you got to say. Welcome to the Strategic Guy Show, True Crime but Strategic. Let me know where you're calling from and what your name is, caller.
Hi, Strategic. It's Shauna from California, and I'm watching again because, as I told you, I'm a loyal follower of your show, and I also am a veteran. And this is just astounding to me because...
Wait, hold on, Shauna. First of all, thank you for being a follower of the show. We do appreciate you, but I didn't stop you for that. I wanted to say thank you for your service, Shauna. Thank you for your service. And please continue.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. What I wanted to say was, if they really wanted to blow up that building, why didn't they take a page book out of Timothy McVeigh's Oklahoma City bombing?
Right.
I mean, that one took down a whole entire building. I don't believe that a Special Forces member of the military is going to put firecrackers and camping oil in a battery-operated cyber truck, which is built like a tank.
Exactly.
So this all sounds so fishy to me, especially, like I said, most military members are taught, and you have some basic knowledge of explosives. But these guys, if they were in Special Forces, they certainly had more training than the average veteran.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. And Timothy McVeigh was a very smart guy. He had a smart IQ. Don't get me wrong. I'm in no way glorifying this guy's a horrible human being. What he did was terrible. I'm just saying that it is known that he had a very high IQ. But this guy, this terrorist in Las Vegas, like you said, was literally trained specifically for this type of activity. Bomb making, survival, makeshift guerrilla kind of things. For him to just put together what you just put together, I mean, even like the fuel he used, that's camping fuel. That stuff is meant to burn very quickly. You know, it's not even really suitable for that type of explosive stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know. What else you got for me?
It's comical. It's absolutely comical in my view. As, like I said, a veteran with just basic knowledge of explosives, it just sounds all cooked up, especially, like you said, the drones, those aren't being addressed. We're having a lot of these interesting, I don't like the conspiracy theory, but, it seems very manufactured.
That's why I have the tinfoil hat on.
I love it. I'm wearing mine too.
Good. That's why they can't get into your head. But listen, it seems like it's coordinated. It seems like it's written from a script from the 1940s when we didn't have the internet. I'm watching a show called Silo on Apple TV. It's a really good show. And in this show, there was like an ecological disaster. If you read the book, it's more complicated, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's watching the show along with me. Long story short, there was an ecological disaster and the government kind of knew about it, planned it, did it, whatever. And they built these silos, these underground communities that could hold up to 10,000 people to kind of wait out until the ecological disaster passes and then the earth could be repopulated. It's so much more complicated. Of course, it involves the government being very bad and mischievous and dishonest. But the reason why I bring it up is that there's a book. They call it the Bible, but there's no words of God in this book. It is a manual on how to run the silo. And in that manual, it tells you day-to-day operations, how to manage food, how to manage workforce, all that stuff. It also has how to manufacture discord in order to maintain the power structure, how to manufacture discord in order to maintain population control. And in that book, they have certain circumstances where they will manufacture droughts in order to cause unrest and once again, bolster the status quo, manufacture violence for the same purpose. It's like, and mind you, this book, this is the last thing on the book because I'm going to get lost in the weeds. This book was written hundreds of years ago because these people have been in the silos for close to 300 years. And they're still operating off the same script that was written so many years ago when the silo was first conceived. It's almost like the government, when the CIA was really in their heyday, if that makes any sense, because they're probably in their heyday now. They probably never left their heyday. But like when they were really thinking and cooking up the plans of tomorrow that we're living in today, it's like this book was written in the 1950s and the 1960s, these scripts. And they're just running through these scripts, but they're not realizing that we're not the same gullible population we were back in the 1950s and the 1960s. We're not freaking dumb, and they're giving us these manufactured situations that just don't seem to make any sense to me. And I don't know, am I losing my mind here? Am I onto something? What do you think before I let you go?
No, I think you're onto something, especially, like I said, these guys had special training in basic explosives. I mean, even the basic stuff, right? And maybe they were IT guys, but they did have training in explosives. Definitely the Special Forces guy did, you know. So it just seems pretty comical to think that a master sergeant of Special Forces Master Sergeant is going to load a truck full of fireworks and camping oil and think that's going to take a building down. Like I said, he should have studied up on Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah.
Thank you for your show again, and I continue to watch, and I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you for your service one more time, and I appreciate your support. You have a great day, and hopefully we'll keep rolling through the next new year together. All right? Appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I mean, she said something very interesting. She said they both had a basic knowledge of explosive, but the Special Forces guy definitely had training on the explosives. Maybe not as much as the administrative guy, but doesn't that make sense too? Where people actually operated or carried out these attacks based off of their skill set. So the guy who was the administrative sergeant, who wasn't a special operator, what did he choose? Did he choose to make a bomb? Well, he made some pipe bombs, allegedly, according to the FBI. They did find pipe bombs, but you can find a recipe for that anywhere on the internet. But what did he really choose to carry out his attack? Well, he rented a car and drove it into a bunch of people. That was more his speed. And then he got out with his body armor and used his military training to actually shoot 2 cops before he was taken down by responding officers. It took dozens of cops shooting at him to take him down. Him alone, he was able to take 2 cops down. So he stayed with his training and with his comfort zone, which was using the car as a weapon and then going hands-on with his own weapon, taking down these 2 officers. Thank God they're still alive before he was able to take him down. And the other guy, who's the special operator, what did he do? Well, he used a more sophisticated way of carrying out the attack. The more sophisticated way was him making a makeshift bomb in a Cybertruck. The problem is that the bomb he made was very rudimentary and definitely did not reflect the training and the knowledge that he was supposed to possess as a special operator. Nonetheless, he chose the bomb route, and the staff sergeant, the master sergeant chose the bomb route, special operator, and the staff sergeant chose the vehicle route and the guns. The larger problem that we have here is that we have 2 able-bodied grown men who also chose to end themselves, conducting terrorist attacks against a country they swore to serve. Doesn't make any sense to me. They don't fit the MO. They don't fit the MO. Neither one of them fit the MO. Neither one of them are the archetype of the type of person that would commit these acts. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we got a staff sergeant who has YouTube videos about how he wants to be a real estate and he has a real estate business. I understand those things may have failed. I get it. He's going through a divorce. How many people out here are losing their families and they're not deciding to do the things that this guy did? But one thing is consistent is his love for service of his country. And now they want us to believe he's ISIS. Now, I saw that ISIS flag with my own eyes in the earliest pictures that was released. I don't believe that was doctored. But whether I believe it was doctored or not doesn't have any bearing on whether somebody put it there or told him to put it there or ordered him to put it there. My question is, how does a guy go from being a patriot who served his country with distinction? He wasn't kicked out of the army. He left the army. I'm pretty sure the army would have loved to retain him. They love to keep people. He left on his own accord. He went and got a degree. He started multiple businesses. How does this guy now turn into the ISIS guy? They want us to believe that's the ISIS guy now.
Recruits crawl through simulated barbed wire with trainers firing at them. They line up to have their torsos kicked. The last man gets the honor of a knee to the body. A fighter drags a cloth mat with a rope fastened to it to rescue a wounded comrade. As they're pulled away, they're fired at. This is the latest ISIS propaganda, a video called Blood of Jihad, showing fighters in basic training.
Is this anything that they would use in Anbar right now, anywhere on the battlefield?
Almost never. This type of hand-to-hand fighting with automatic weapons, mortars, artillery.
I got to bring it back. You guys got to see this training. I'm sorry. I got to bring it back. I'm sorry I didn't know that you guys weren't seeing this. You got to see this training. Big shout out to everybody who's joining me. I got 233 people watching me right now. Please hit that like button. Hit that like button, support the channel. Look at this crap. He went from U.S. military to this.
Recruits crawl through simulated barbed wire with trainers firing at them. They line up to have their torsos kicked. The last man gets the honor of a knee to the body. A fighter drags a cloth mat with a rope fastened to it to rescue a wounded comrade. As they're pulled away, they're fired at. This is the latest ISIS propaganda, a video called Blood of Jihad, showing fighters in basic training.
Is this anything that they would use in Anbar right now, anywhere on the battlefield?
Almost never. This type of hand-to-hand fighting with automatic weapons, mortars, artillery, vehicles almost never really occurs. Throughout this entire video, what you have is a stage set of exercises. You look at them, and this really isn't a training exercise, it's a video exercise.
It's propaganda.
Exactly.
But somehow, ISIS has captured most of Anbar province and come within just a few miles of Baghdad International Airport. What tactics have they deployed? Iraq combat veteran Douglas Oliphant says on the battlefield, ISIS has previously used what he calls a react-to-contact drill. That means in a firefight, they make initial contact against their enemy using the smallest number of fighters possible, maybe 3 or 4.
And then put down fire so that, because those 3 or 4 guys can then keep 30 of the enemy focused on them.
Then, Oliphant says, a larger group of ISIS fighters comes around, flanking the enemy on one side.
They forgot to talk about the drones we got in the air that blow those guys up before they do all their flanking chess playing stuff.
Side finds a weakness, attacks it.
This is something that the U.S. Army Ranger Regiment has really practiced for years. It's been their hallmark.
But now in Anbar, analysts say
he went from that to this. The Special Forces training right here. Big shout out to Patty Salcedo, who's a recruit member. Appreciate you for joining us. This Special Forces Combat Readiness Assessment. This is not the training. It's like calisthenics. See how strong you are, really. It's not the actual training, like it's to see how strong you are. think is getting more training, guys? You think we get more training doing that? Or these dudes getting more training doing this?
Crawl through simulated barbed wire with trainers firing at them. They line up to have their torsos kicked. The last man gets the honor of a knee to the body. A fighter.
This is freaking crazy, man. This is insanity, guys. I don't believe this, man. I do not believe this guy. I don't believe this guy went from being in the military, living a dream, to some backwater jihad, mujahideen, Sharia law freedom fighter, man. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Somebody said this is going on in Dearborn, Michigan also. I mean, they got stuff going on in this country. I can't get into it because YouTube is crazy. That come for me. I want to show you guys one more thing. Oh, got a caller. What's going on, caller? Welcome to Strategic Eyes Show. What's your name and where you calling from?
What's going on, caller? Welcome to Strategic Eyes Show.
You got the mute.
What's your name and where you calling from?
Oh, hi, my name's Carrie P.
Hey,
and I served in OIF.
Okay, hold on one second. Did you put the volume down on the show?
It is.
All right, awesome. All right, so you served where?
In Iraq.
You served in Iraq.
In Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
Wow, thank you for your service, man. Wait. You got something you need to tell me, but we need to thank you for your service because we support the military here on this channel. Thank you for your service, man.
Thank you.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I firmly believe that these guys could have done it and been recruited by ISIS.
Well, tell us why.
And the reason being, because they're going to find any weakness they can exploit, right? That's generally, their warfare tends to be psychological and then physical, where it seems like the Army, the U.S. is physical, then psychological. And I would think that if I was trying to recruit somebody into terrorism, which it's not my thing, obviously, but given it some thought, I would think that they would find a weakness they can exploit. Tell them things like, America has turned its back on you. America doesn't care about you. America is the great Satan, or whatever they say that we are. All of those things. And if they're going through divorces, they're going through maybe out processing, etc., whatever traumatic event has happened, that can be exploited. And I firmly believe that there, I mean, you can be physically strong, but you also have to be mentally strong. And if you're not mentally strong, then you're going to be easy pickings.
All right. Let's unpack that. First of all, everything you said makes perfect sense. All right. Especially you have an experience being in these combat theaters. You know the stressors that people like yourself who are in those situations have gone through. All this stuff can aid in somebody being able to be psychologically vulnerable. Trauma makes people vulnerable. Military members go through trauma. That's a fact. But this is my problem that I have here. What is the odds? What is the odds that you can radicalize two people who are working in the military, who are mature adults? Usually we see this radicalization happening with much younger people. But these are older, mature people. Not too old. The last guy was 37, but he also had 19 years of experience in the military. What's the odds that you can get two folks with 10 plus years in the military to radicalize themselves to the point where they're not just selling information, because that's easy. Money, ideology, that can help somebody sell information, be a double agent, be a spy. But you could radicalize two people to the point where they're willing to literally give their lives and cause mass casualties for a cause. It's possible 100%, in my opinion, for one person. If it was one and done, I wouldn't have this conversation. I would take off the tinfoil hat. But we've got two.
I like your hat.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Two decorated officers who serve with distinction, no disciplinary, no dishonorable discharges. Two people, one active duty, still sworn in, still fighting for our Constitution, who have decided to become radicalized and give their lives for a radical cause. How do we explain that?
See, that's where you got me, because, I mean, I have my problems with this country, but they're not enough ever to make me, not be a good, upstanding citizen. I don't get it. I mean,
and then they use the same app. They use the same app.
Yeah, the Turo app. Yeah, that was crazy. I don't know. I mean, honestly, you would think that would come from somebody younger. But I mean, I can see, and of course, selling the information. We've had, many traders do that to us. But yeah, I mean, I can't put myself in their shoes, because you could tell me this and this and this and this about America, and I still wouldn't be like, oh, well, I'm going to go hurt people. That's
And
not.
we have to really,
my thinking.
and we really have to digest the other element of their attacks, because there's one thing, I'm not in the military. I've never served. I actually tried to, but I couldn't get where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a pilot, and my eyes weren't good enough, so I couldn't get into the program.
Okay.
But
That was actually literally me.
That's what you wanted to
that
do
was
too?
exactly. I wanted to be a pilot.
Yeah, I mean, it's never too late. So
Just as blind as a bat. Can't happen. I was 68 whiskey, which is combat lifesaver.
Okay.
Our combat.
So
medic.
you see
I
some
was
things.
a combat lifesaver, and then I reclassed
Well,
to combat.
you saw some things. You saw some things, and we appreciate your service, man. Wow. But,
Yeah. I mean, I can't conceive of why anybody would do that, but I can conceive that if you find a weakness, like wasn't one of the guys going through a divorce?
Right.
Maybe saying something like, your wife is taking your kids because the great America has
But
turned
there's
against the families.
there's another element to this, a barrier that's the ultimate barrier that goes above and beyond money, ideology, and that is life, and that's your life. And so I'm what I was saying was, I'm not a military person. I don't know what it is to be in a combat theater, but I deal with people on a civilian criminal level. And I dealt with tons of murderers, especially when I'm a police officer now, I'm a detective. But before this, I worked in corrections, and I've spoken to over 5,000 incarcerated people through the course of my time and doing investigations. And none of those people want to die. The most hardened criminals, the most craziest serial killer, the people who murdered their children, killed their enemies on the streets, they don't want to die. So not only were they able to radicalize somebody to the point where they're willing to throw their life away and commit mass casualties, but they were also able to radicalize these folks to the point where they're willing to say, in the process of me committing these mass casualties, my goal and intent is also for me to lose my life. So in the case of the father who's going through the divorce, that radicalization has to be so powerful. He has to say, I don't care about my kids. I don't care about them growing up without their dad. I'm going to kill myself. And and the special operator, this boss who's in a sergeant, a supervisor, a ranked official who's a special operator, his radicalization had to be to the point where he's also willing to say, I'm not even, at least the first guy knew he took people out before he lost his life. He saw that. He witnessed that. The other guy said, I'm going to detonate this bomb with the hopes that it's going to take people's lives. But the only life he was sure was actually taken was his own life. That takes a lot of radicalization.
Well, it's kind of like that guy, what was his name, Mohammed something in Texas a few years back, when he, opened fire on the post. I kind of wondered how, and he was a doctor, wasn't he? If I'm correct, I think he had like all this training. He was U.S. military. He had a high rank, if I remember correctly. And then he went and killed his own people. I mean, he went and killed troops.
Right.
That was,
He was actually a psychologist, yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was going to get my degree in psychology, but I decided to go with something else instead, sociology. But I can't conceive of it, but I do know that, there's all kinds of like tricks. And I'm sure in special ops, this is the thing that kind of does blow me away.
Right.
In special ops, they undoubtedly did training for like mental fitness.
Right.
Because I have some friends who train, over in down south, who train the special forces. And I know that they go through like mental fitness, because that's got to be a, key to, they check your financial fitness for your clearance.
Right.
They check your physical fitness in boot and AIT. Then your mental fitness would definitely get, tested regularly as a special ops. So that's where that does blow me away. I cannot I like I said, I have a lot of problems with this country. I think there's a lot of things we could be doing a lot better and differently.
Right.
But no part of me, instead I've become a community organizer. I work on literacy programs in my little inner city, and I'm trying to get a program with veterans helping kids,
Do you have purple
with
hair?
literacy. No, I have black hair. I'm Navajo. I have naturally black hair. It's not turning gray though, and I'm 51.
You said a hoe?
Um,
I wasn't going to that angle, but I hear you.
Hey, no, but I've turned that lack of progress into something where I see where we need progress.
Right,
Get the kids off the streets by getting them into good literacy programs so that they stay out of gangs and doing stupid stuff.
And we appreciate that. And that is one of the very most basic solutions that we, for some reason, can't seem to wrap our head around. Like, if you want to stop the violence, you got to go through education. It starts two places, with the homes and education. I will say that the problem with the educational part is that if you don't have the home buttressing the education, it's not impossible, but it's more difficult to make the educational part work. If you have a supportive home that buttresses educating the children, and then you supply the education, you literally keep children out of trouble, and you literally build a prosperous next generation. So if we would
100%.
focus on
And
our
I say
homes
this-
and our education,
I
we
say
would have
this as an at-risk kid. I was an at-risk kid. My dad was in prison when I was growing up. I grew up with just, my mom worked all the time, dad in prison, not much of a home life, but I still, came ahead. And I think that's exactly it. It was education.
Right.
That was, I didn't have the supportive home, but I did have, I guess myself.
Right.
And I saw education as, being the biggest step to correct like gun violence and gangs and drugs and all the other horrible things, is to get those kids in school, keep them in school, keep them motivated, give them a future.
Right.
Yeah, that's why my program is actually working. I'm trying to get grants to get veterans to mentor kids in my city.
That's nice, man. That's
And-
beautiful. I hope you are able to accomplish that. Absolutely.
Thanks. So that's that's the long story of why I can see a lot wrong with my country, but instead of going, oh, I think hurting people is the solution, I think it's the opposite solution.
Right.
Healing people, healing communities. So I get how they can exploit that. America's turned your back on you. America's this, America's that. But I don't get how you wouldn't just turn around and be like, oh, well, then maybe I should start a soup kitchen,
Right.
or something.
Well, you're right. You're right.
something
But
positive.
listen, you're 100% correct. I'm going to let you go, but I want to say two things before I let you go. Number one, I just can't get my head wrapped around the fact that they were able to get two. If this was indeed radicalization, two people who are pretty much mirror of each other can be radical at the same time. The probability is very low. But the other thing I want to say is, when you get your stuff together, I know you're doing things right now, but God willing, my show will only get bigger, and I hope that it will only get bigger. The audience will tell. And you get your stuff together, please consider coming back. And if you have like a foundation or something, or you want to bring awareness to what you're doing, consider coming back. Reach out to me via email, and we'll definitely showcase you on the show and try to help you in your endeavor the best way we can. I think you're onto
Awesome,
something.
thank you.
I think that's beautiful, and especially getting the veterans involved so that they can now use that as a form of therapy for themselves, but also use that experience and that knowledge and that natural mentorship that they have from being military members to actually guide the youth. I think that's a beautiful thing. That's two beautiful things we could put together and make something even more beautiful. So I want to help you with that endeavor. All right. So I appreciate you for
Awesome,
calling.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, you take care of yourself.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. I think it's time for me to go, guys. I got to go to work. It's 2:00. I got like 20 minutes to get ready and then get on the road. Otherwise, I'm going to be late, and that's not a good thing, right? Guys, I appreciate you guys immensely, man. Listen, the theme of this show is I don't trust the government. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't think that they're being honest with us about what's going on out there. I don't think they're being honest. I think there's a lot more to this. Maybe more will come out. Maybe the truth will come out. Maybe it won't. But it doesn't make sense to me that two decorated service members who served with honor and distinction, one active duty, who has a security clearance, top secret security clearance. You have to have a top secret security clearance if you're going to be a special operator. Like the caller said, never served in the military, but I worked with guys in the feds before. I heard one guy complaining to me, oh my God, I took this credit card out. I got to pay it off because they're about to do my review. And if I have too much debt on, I won't be able to get my top secret clearance. And this was a Fed guy. It's an FBI guy I was talking to who was telling me that. If your credit isn't good, you can't get your top secret. You get in trouble. So the guy who's active as a sergeant, special operator, he had good credit. He was getting his psychologicals checked out annually, maybe even biannually. Somebody knows, let me know. But I know he's getting checked out a whole lot. Excuse me for saying goddamn. My apologies. I caught myself before I said it. This was a guy who was scrutinized by our government, and one day he wakes up and he wants to be a terrorist and blow himself up with a bunch of fireworks, even though he knows how to make C4 from scratch. He knows how to make dynamite from scratch. He could cook that up in his bathroom. He don't even need a kitchen. He could cook up some C4 in the kitchen, but this guy chose to put firecrackers in the back of a tank. And we're supposed to believe that? I don't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe it. They can't tell us what the drones are in New Jersey. Don't worry about them. It's no big deal. We don't know what they are, but they're safe. They're not going to bother you. They fly from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. like clockwork. They shutting down your airports. They're hovering over your house, but don't worry about them and don't flash lasers at them because they don't like that. It makes them upset, but we don't know what they are. I don't believe you. January 6th. But nobody talks about the hooded guy with the mask on who was dropping bombs off all over the Capitol outside the RNC and the DNC. We still don't know who that masked bomber was from January 6th. But all they do is talk about the mom and the dads who went in there like a-holes inside the Capitol building, but they never talk about the person who was the real threat to democracy, which was the mystery bomber. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because I don't trust the government. I don't trust them. The question is, why do you trust them? Why do you trust the government? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.